Today we're carrying on with the next video in our mini-series. Last time out, we discussed the first 3 things that I would do if I was told that I couldn't get a mortgage. So today we're going to be going into detail on the very first thing that I would do, which is get a second or third opinion. Now, before we jump into this, you might be wondering, who am I? Well, my name's Josh. I'm the managing director of My Mortgage Finder, and we specialise in helping people with bad credit, and we have a team of 30 people who do this day in, day out. So, with that being said, back to today's video, and the topic is getting a second or a third opinion. This is especially important if you've been told that you can't get a mortgage by your bank. For example, if you maybe bank with Halifax or Nationwide and you approach them directly and they actually turn around and said, unfortunately, we can't give you a mortgage right now. Or a mortgage advisor who works for a new build site, or perhaps simply a mortgage advisor that doesn't specialise in one particular area, but instead they try and do a little bit of everything. So first of all, let's talk about why you should get a second opinion if you've actually approached your bank directly. So in our hypothetical example here, you might bank with Halifax or you might bank with Nationwide. So because you bank with them, you reach out to them directly, you say, can I have a mortgage? And unfortunately, they'll look at your application and they turn around and say, you can't have a mortgage right now, Mr. Customer, which is clearly going to be very disappointing. However, these are just examples of 2 banks that offer mortgages. Let me put this into perspective. At My Mortgage Finder, we work as a mortgage brokerage, so we actually help people find the mortgages and the right mortgage lenders, and we actually work with over 110 lenders. So do you think there's a chance that just because you've been rejected by these first 1 to 2 lenders that there might be an option elsewhere? I'll let you be the judge of that. Okay, so let's move on now, and let's say, for example, that you're buying a new build home. It's yet to be fully built yet. You go and see the future properties or all of the properties on that plot, and on the site they have a mortgage advisor there, like they frequently do, and you speak to them and they say, unfortunately, you can't have a mortgage right now. Well, what you might not know, but I certainly do based on my experience, is most mortgage advisors who do work on these new build sites, they actually only have access to a limited number and a limited panel of lenders. What do I mean by this? Let me explain in a little bit more detail. So I gave you the example earlier about how we, as a mortgage brokerage, and we arrange lots of mortgages for people. We find the mortgage lender and then arrange the mortgage themselves. We work with about 110 lenders, actually over that amount, whereas a lot of these mortgage advisors on new build sites, they might work with 20 mortgage lenders, 30 mortgage lenders, 40 mortgage lenders. The point is, they are quite often capped on the amount that they can actually work with. And if there's maybe a lender that's a good fit for you, but they can't access, then they might just turn around to you and say, hey, unfortunately, you can't have a mortgage right now. Does that mean that you can't get a mortgage elsewhere? Again, I'll let you be the judge of that. Okay, so let's now go ahead and talk about a mortgage advisor that you might have spoken to who said that you can't get a mortgage, but instead of specialising in one particular area, maybe they just cover lots of small areas and try and do a little bit of everything. Now, that actually could be a mortgage advisor as well, who perhaps works on a new build site that we've already covered. And in my experience, most of those mortgage advisors do fall into that category. So just so you know absolutely what I'm talking about here, I'm going to use some non-mortgage related examples where people might require specialist help. And that might be, if somebody has tooth pain, would they go and see a GP, or would they maybe go and see a dentist? If somebody had a problem with their knee, would they go and see, again, a GP, or would they go and see a knee specialist to solve the problem? Or let's say you have a child and they are struggling at school with maths. Would you take them to see any teacher, or might they be better off by going and seeing a maths teacher? So the point I'm getting at here is it's no different in the mortgage world. You have mortgage advisors who specialise in certain areas, like dentistry, specialising in teeth, and you have mortgage advisors who do a little bit of everything, like a general practitioner at a doctor's. And this is no criticism at all for a mortgage advisor that does a little bit of everything. I'm sure they do a really good job for lots of different people. But what I am saying here is if you have spoken to one of them and they say they can't help for a very specific reason, then I would absolutely go and get a second and a third opinion, potentially, from somebody who does specialise in the area that you need help with the most. So you might be thinking, what type of specialist areas is Josh talking about here, and what areas might people normally need help with the most? I'm going to list out a few common examples of some of the most frequent ones that we see. Obviously, someone who has a bad credit history, that's obviously what we help with at My Mortgage Finder. That's our specialist area. Someone who is on an unusual visa type, or it could be someone who's receiving a really complex type of income. For example, someone who's been self-employed maybe for a really short space of time, someone who's employed by an umbrella company. It could be somebody who is a contractor. It could be someone who's on a 0 hours contract, or it could even be someone who's a dentist. So my advice to you is if you have been told that you cannot get a mortgage recently, whether that's from a friend, a family member, a mortgage advisor, find out very specifically what is the area that is causing the most problems and what is it that's holding this mortgage application back from actually going through. I would then seek somebody out who specialises in that area and obviously go ahead and get that second and third opinion. So just before I wrap today's video up, I wanted to give you a couple of real life examples of people who have been told they couldn't be helped, only actually to come to ourselves, My Mortgage Finder. Remember, we specialise in bad credit, and for us to be able to go on and help them, I'm going to share some of those clips with you right now.
We tried using another mortgage advisor and we went through the stages there, but it got to the point where we got to the last bit and it got declined because of the debts and stuff like that I got myself into.
We were stuck, we really wanted a house, and we didn't know where to start. We just phoned yourselves and we just made the start from there, and it was just absolutely amazing from start to finish.
We couldn't fault anything that you've done to help us.
So the reason I reached out to My Mortgage Finder was our landlord of 4 years had decided to sell our house, and it was like the ground had just been swiped from underneath my feet. My life looks like a dream. You know, the little house isn't anything fancy. It needs a lot of work, but knowing that those 4 walls are ours, it's worth every penny that we've spent with you guys, honestly. Like, knowing that I can go home, that is the best feeling.
So if you do have any questions, feel free to pop those in the comments below. Alternatively, you can send us an email. The email is also in the description. So thanks for watching. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications for more tips on bad credit and all things bad credit mortgage related. And we will see you in the next video.